Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2 of today's video. Where we left off, I was just discussing the possibility of the strike on White's castled king's position with bishop takes h3. So now I'll show you some of the various lines that result from this move. So bishop takes h3, and first of all we'll look at what would have happened if White had recaptured. So one line might have gone something like this: g takes, and then first of all the queen is just coming into here. So you can see the danger of this position, and right now black is just threatening to checkmate on the h1 square. So let's say the bishop comes back now to the e4 square, and the knight, for instance, drops in here, coming to a very imposing position. There's all kinds of pitfalls for White. For instance, if he comes to here, there's a very beautiful finish for black with a queen sacrifice on the g2 square. So queen takes, takes is forced, and now a smothered mate with knight e2. The rook is cutting off all of the escape squares for the king. And there's several different lines like this that all lead to checkmate or a very lost position. So you can see that it's not possible for White to capture on h3. It gives White black a deadly initiative. So instead, my opponent played queen to f3. So he's using his queen to defend the g2 square. So basically I brought my bishop back now to g4, gaining a tempo on the queen. He brings his queen to e4 now, and I'm able to just roll my pawn forward like a battering ram. So f5, gaining another tempo on the queen, and you'll notice that the bishop on g6 is also looking very stranded now. If I'd wanted to, after his queen moved, I could have brought my queen over and won this piece, but I elected to keep the initiative going in a different way. So he brought his queen back to e1 now, and I continued this kind of rolling motion of the pawn by playing f4. And you'll notice that the bishop really only has one square. So bishop to h2, and now I had the very simple and almost crude idea that if my queen comes to g7, attacking this bishop on g6, the bishop will be forced to move, and then after queen g7 to h6, I'll simply be threatening mate, and this bishop will be lost. So that's what I did next. So we saw bishop to g7, just targeting this g6 bishop, and after bishop e4, just queen h6, threatening mate on h2. So already White's position is really hopeless, but I was able to finish the game off with a nice combination, and I'd like to share that with you. So he played f3 now, and f3 is actually the only move that prevents checkmate. So queen takes, check, and now king f2 is forced. And there's a couple of ways black could win here. Just bringing back the bishop to e3 would be satisfactory, but I saw a very nice idea, and that was to bring the knight to the e3 square. And the idea of this move is to intensify the pressure on g2, and you'll see that there's some tactics that will start to work, because the bishop is going to try to defend both of these points, and we can exploit that. So my opponent played f takes g4, so it looks like I'm just giving him a piece, but there's a very nice continuation that starts with rook takes d3. The problem for white now is he can't take the rook on d3, otherwise queen takes g2 is checkmate. So he tries now queen to e2, attacking the rook. However, there was a very beautiful continuation here that I found after looking at the board for a long time, and that idea is knight d1 check. Well, basically he has to get out of check, and there's only a couple of different options available to him. So let's look for instance at the first candidate move, and that's king to e1. Well, black can just play queen to g3 check, and then there's only two ways to block this. So after queen f2, you just simply got knight takes f2, and once again there's some terrible mating threats, so that's no good. And then if rook f2, we've got this beautiful move rook h1, and after queen h1, queen f2 is mate. So clearly bringing the king back to e1 is no good. In the game, my opponent tried rook takes d1, queen takes e1 also, queen takes d1 also loses, so queen takes d1, we just got queen g3 check. All of these dark squares are weakened around the king's position, and after king g1, you just got queen e3 check, and after rook f2, queen takes d1 is mate. In the game, my opponent tried rook takes d1, and this also loses. So rook takes d1, queen g3 check, king g1, rook takes d1, queen d1, these are all forced. And now, even though black is behind in material, it's a forced mate in two. So queen e3 check, and after king to f1, rook h1 would be mate, and my opponent in this position resigned. So I hope you enjoyed that game. I know from my early days of chess, I lost many games where I started trying to attack with only a couple of pieces developed and ended up losing in terrible fashion. And even at this stage, it's sort of easy to forget the basics and forget to focus on development, but it's very important, and I hope this game demonstrated that. Thanks very much for watching, and leave any comments on YouTube. See you next time. Goodbye.